Hi everyone, welcome to Imagine Science Film Experimenta series. Today we're going to be talking with the director of The Perfect 46, which is a new science film about genetic matching. And the director is Brett Ryan Bonowicz, and he's going to be telling us a little bit about his background in filmmaking and how he came to become a science filmmaker. So Brett, do you want to tell us a little bit about how you got into film in the first place, and if you had, an interest in science when you were in high school, and kind of how that all came to be?
Sure. I mean, my interest in filmmaking, I think, always came from having a large variety of interests. And, within filmmaking, you can be an astronaut one day and like a cowboy, the next day. And you get to explore a large variety of stories in filmmaking. In terms of always having an interest in science, I suppose I did, but it didn't really kind of come to the forefront until kind of, later years for me, even after college, and just living in Los Angeles, you're kind of bombarded with film everywhere. Uh, so science became something that was really kind of refreshing to me. Science and technology, and just exploring, things that might be happening years from now, even 100 years from now. Um, that became, like kind of my solace in a way. And there was a um, kind of a long period in which I had to explore how to kind of marry the two, and I knew I probably wasn't going to become a scientist, so I had to kind of figure out how I could make pretend and be a scientist.
Right. So, when you started filmmaking, did you initially want to be making specifically science films? So, because I know that your first few films were, not scientifically based.
Right, right. So no. I mean, I never really had, I guess, a specific path, of stories that I wanted to tell. I guess I always wanted to explore different genres at first, anyway, and then kind of realized that a lot of the ideas I was coming up with, relied on the involvement of science and science fiction. And I guess my previous films had kind of relied on an amount of realism that I feel like I've brought to The Perfect 46, in having, kind of like this science factual realism within films, and
Yeah.
that's something I want to keep exploring and keep going with.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us just a little bit about kind of the general premise of The Perfect 46?
Sure. The film is about a geneticist who creates a website that will essentially pair you with your ideal genetic partner for children. And we kind of explore a few different storylines with the main character. His name's Jesse, where we see what has happened kind of after the service has taken off. We see a little bit before that, and we see kind of the public perception of him, and him privately as well. So hopefully you're kind of seeing uh, different facets of the character, and creating kind of this collage of the individual.
Right. And I thought that was really well done. I mean, you made it very personal. And rather, than taking on a complete documentary style, is almost kind of docu-fiction. And did you want to have the intention of commenting more on the future or kind of present day technologies when you
Yeah, when I first started writing it, I felt like I was probably commenting more into the future than it has been, because now we're starting to see companies doing exactly this. So I mean, I probably thought I was predicting 5 to 10 years into the future, and it was really about two. Um, yeah, I don't know. There are little bits of like futurism that we've tried to put in the film, but the overall premise just seems to be becoming more true by the day.
Right. And did you have any, current kind of gene matching companies or other companies that work with genetic technologies comment on your film or find out about it? And, what was their reaction?
Yeah, yeah. Last year, after we had wrapped shooting, I met with one of the co-founders of Gene Peaks, which does kind of partially, I guess, what the Perfect 46 does. And I made the script available, I made the film available. I wanted to kind of show that I wasn't out to be, kind of a fear monger with the science, and that, I wanted to treat it in a respectful way and kind of explore possibilities and not, something horrific in any way. Reaction was positive, and then that kind of led to us taking a rough cut of the film in September to the Consumer Genetics Conference, and that was really great to be able to get feedback from people that are in the field, and really kind of test it out and make sure everything in the film was solid before we actually kind of locked picture and finished the film.
What was their involvement in terms of writing the script or kind of having an impact on plot development? Did it drastically change once you presented it at this conference?
No, we ended up shortening the film a couple minutes, but that didn't have anything to do with any of the science. Starting this film, I was very much an outsider to the science community, so in a way, I kind of had to make this film to kind of prove myself, prove my worth a little bit. So I didn't really have access to anybody. A woman that I went to high school with became a geneticist, and she became my science consultant on the film, and she was amazingly helpful. And really kind of got the script into tip-top shape and stuff. And at some point, I think while we were raising funds online, I was able to contact Kevin Davies via Twitter, and he actually responded to me. And he took a look at the script and was very helpful as well. And he, I believe, was the first person who kind of alerted me to Gene Peaks, and that there were companies kind of coming around with a premise very, very close to the film.
Yeah. So one scene that really caught my attention, and I think a lot of the audience really responded strongly to the scene, was the dinner table scene where everyone is having this really intimate discussion about these technologies. And some of them are married, some of them are single, but they're talking about kind of what they're going to do once they have children. And eugenics comes up, and it's a very dramatic conversation. Do you want to tell us a little bit about maybe what that was based off of, or how you got that idea to kind of have this conversation in this type of setting?
Yeah, I wanted to show, our main character Jesse in different conversations with different individuals. I wanted to show him with his peers. I wanted to show him with just kind of the everyday people that he would encounter, and then I wanted to show people. He had to confront people affected by the service as well, so that's a little bit of like a Jesse against the world kind of thing, and that dinner table conversation kind of comes into play with that, because he doesn't even necessarily know some of the people that he's engaging with. They're friends of friends who happen to be at dinner, and I wanted to kind of engage him and have him give answers to questions that I feel like a regular person might have, someone outside of the field of genetics or even science in general.
And what kind of response they might have.
Right.
Because in addition to that scene, I mean, you show him in so many different contexts in terms of serving on a panel, speaking with his coworkers who kind of also are a little bit hesitant at times. What was your kind of idea for having him in so many different environments and interacting with these people? Was it just to kind of show that, make it more real, or?
Well, I guess I'm kind of going off of our perception of, like a tech CEO, like a Steve Jobs or like an Elon Musk or something, where our perception of them is, we see them on television, we see them at events, we might see them at a panel at a conference. But, I wanted to show a private side as well. These people still eat dinner, they still have intimate conversations with loved ones, and to be able to show the different sides of that character. And it's the same character, but, you get to see him in very different contexts in that way. And exploring that hopefully makes him more of an overall human being.
Yeah. What was kind of your audience's and the screening so far reaction to Jesse, the main character? Did he kind of come off more as a villain, or was it kind of conflicted?
It's been all over the place, honestly, which is kind of great, to have so many people looking at the same thing and having different feelings. I know a lot of people who will emotionally sympathize with Jesse, and then many that don't. There are many that find him kind of irritable, and I just felt like I wouldn't be honest to the character, and if I wasn't showing him in a very confident way, you know what I mean, that he is very kind of brash throughout many of his discussions, and he's very, I'd say, driven. I remember that was something that a friend of mine who I read the script fairly early on, was like, how do you want people to feel about him? And really the overall thing is driven. He's very driven. He feels like he's very right in what he's doing, and he's going to do it. And he'll explain to you why you should agree with him. Yeah.
So I'm curious to know. So I don't want to spoil the film for anyone, but the kind of the beginning evolution of Perfect 46. It starts as simply a genetic sequencing company, ultimately, where individuals can have the agency to use this service to learn more about their genes and their compatibility with someone else. But then it switches more to almost a dating site a little bit.
Yeah, it's almost like a Match.com for genetics.
Yeah, a Match.com for those really enthusiastic about gene sequencing. So I guess what was your thought process in kind of that evolution of the plot? Was that something that you had established before even writing the script, or is that something that kind of came up when you started kind of speaking to other people about where the film could go, or these other geneticists? Like, did they have a say in that?
No, I suppose at that point, by the time I actually consulted people, the script was pretty finished, and it was just very kind of specific details that we wanted to make sure the science was right.
Right.
In terms of the kind of the building of the company within the film, I had started with, I had wanted to make a very, very small movie. I wanted to make kind of a chamber drama that was locked in to just being within a house and a couple people debating maybe for 90 minutes was kind of the initial conceit, which is obviously not what the film ended up being. And once I kind of figured out why that character would be there and what had happened, and I started kind of building the Perfect 46 company, I became so interested in showing the sides of Jesse and the internal involvement in the company, and then the documentary also, which kind of came about from wanting to show expository information in a way that I hadn't really seen before, which was to be able to be watching a documentary within the film, but then be able to cut very freely to the documentary and actually just see the documentary within the film. And I wanted it so that you're hearing all this information about the characters, so that by the time you get back to the two characters debating within the house, more information. You're able to follow that discussion and have a little bit of a different opinion as like the mystery is unraveled as to who he is and what has happened. Yeah. So that evolved over time, and I just kind of kept adding more and more to the film, and it got bigger.
Yeah. So about that kind of documentary element to your film, what were there any real events that the film was specifically based off of? Like, for example, the conflict at the end. Again, I don't want to spoil anything, but when the company kind of negatively impacts some of its customers, was that based off of a real event, or just something that you could hypothesize would happen possibly in the future?
No, it's not based on anything in reality. I did want to explore possible effects of a service like that without being too specific, as to what is happening and everything. But yeah, I don't know. I don't want to spoil anything either.
No.
But yeah, no, it's not based on any actual event. The entire film is an original screenplay, which was, I guess, another difficulty in trying to attract either investors or even just science advisors. To be like, well, this is completely made up, but I promise you, it's factually accurate. That's a hard.
Right.
that's a hard pitch to kind of get by people.
Yeah, well, and I think that is a very important element of your film because, there are things that are based in reality, but others that are kind of, this could happen in the near future. We're not sure, but this is definitely a possibility, or at least a representation of something that could happen. I think it was really well done. So what is your kind of next project moving forward? I mean, this was a very kind of successful science film, and it's creating a lot of buzz in the science community. Do you hope to kind of stick more closely to the science content, or kind of deviate from it for a little while? What is your next step?
I hope to make science films for the rest of my life, and I hope I have a very long life. The next script that I've completed is about GMOs, and it's another film. In a way, it's kind of a sister film to The Perfect 46, in that we kind of explore another entrepreneur and kind of her struggles through kind of building a company. I think building a company is a really interesting thing to explore, and you kind of create, because obviously you're creating something from nothing, so this is a kind of great underdog story in a way. And then I just started writing a film, a little bit. It's about cloning, and it's about parenting. It's about a woman's struggle to kind of fight for the right to clone herself, and that again kind of tells dual stories. And I'm only a little bit into it right now, but yeah, those are the two that are kind of I'm hoping to line up. Yeah.
That's wonderful. So a little bit more of a broad question, because you're kind of a newcomer, I guess, to science filmmaking to a certain extent, what is your kind of reaction to specifically the science filmmaking community? Do you think it's been really welcoming, or, what has the response been?
It seems welcoming to me. Yeah, no, I don't know, good so far, reaction has been positive.
Yeah. In terms of the content, I mean, do you find that in general, the audience has more stronger reactions to your films, or questions, or do you think it creates generally kind of more of a buzz than your past films because of the science content?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I'm exploring a niche in a way. That there is, we're kind of appealing to a specific audience. So in that way, I think we've created something that they enjoy, But yeah, it kind of reminds me of when we were fundraising last year, and I immediately thought, I was like, the science community is going to respond to this immediately. It's going to be great. They'll just be pouring money into our hands. They'll want to see this movie. And you just never, well, not that you never think it, but the science community very much responds skeptically, as they should, and I think it's great that they do. And there is a real degree of well, why trust him? What has he done before? Nothing related to science. Why are we going to trust him now? What can we see? What can we, can we see a clip of the film? Can we read the script? All these things.
Right.
And now that people are actually seeing the film, I hope there's a degree of trust going forward.
Yeah. So maybe becoming a science filmmaker, it's good to kind of get your grasp on one science film, and then people kind of give you a little bit more credit. Okay, we trust him with this content.
Right.
Well, that's great. So you also mentioned that you have a couple of screenings coming up. One of them is in New York, correct?
Right. We'll be screening at the Lower East Side Film Festival June 19th. And then late July, we haven't been given a screening date yet. We'll be showing at the Woods Hole Film Festival in Cape Cod. And then also we've started organizing, and this will kind of be August and beyond, organizing screenings at colleges and talking with different genetics departments, and kind of doing a screening and then a panel afterward about kind of the realities of the film.
Oh,
and
wow.
hopefully we'll be able to announce some of those soon, but we're working on that.
Yeah. So if people want to learn more about Perfect 46 or some of your upcoming projects, I know that the Perfect 46 website, are all of the upcoming screenings and such listed there?
Well, if you go to theperfect46.com, it's built out to be an actual website for the business. But if you click buy on the site, that'll take you to our Facebook page. Our Facebook page has info about all of the screenings.
Right. And now one more question relating to your website.
Sure.
You had a very unique promotional campaign for this film.
Uh-huh.
You want to tell us a little bit about kind of how that came to be and what the response was?
Yeah. So we early on, before we had done the fundraising campaign, I had really wanted to just build out the website for the company and just build it out as if it were realistic, And we made some commercials, and that was a lot of fun. And we put that on there. We did some fake podcasts, and it's interesting. After you see the film, you can actually watch the podcasts, and they all make sense within the world of the film, and they actually kind of enhance some of the information and maybe explain the process of the Perfect 46 a little bit more than we got to in the film.
Wow.
So if you've seen the film, check out the website. But yeah, so at one point, a company actually did find our website and thought of us as a competitor, and this was actually during our Indiegogo campaign, and they we're talking to another colleague, and this is actually how we found one of our producers, was through the website, and we were able to connect with him and raise some funds that way. And so I hate to think of what would have happened had we never made the site the way that we did. And
Right.
there was some resistance, I guess, on doing this as kind of whole hog as I wanted to, because there's really no indication that it's a film beyond clicking buy, And at the time, if you clicked buy, it took you to the Indiegogo page.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think it's fun, and
Wow.
it seemed to have fooled a bunch of people on Twitter, which is kind of fun also.
And
And I
then,
guess also
like,
it adds to the fact that people thought it was real, that
yeah.
we're a step away from this happening.
Right. I wonder how many people on that website were sincerely clicking buy to buy the service,
I know
or to try
we
and
met
contact you because they were so angry.
on our frequently asked questions. We list a phone number to call for more information, and we got at least 2 genuine phone calls, and that was probably like the one time that I was like really faced with the realities of like, oh, now I feel bad. I want to refer them to like a real company, that is
Oh,
doing
no.
something like this.
Your
Um,
producer's cell phone was just ringing off the hook with all of these phone calls.
right, right, yeah.
Okay, well, great. We're really excited to see your upcoming films, and wish you the best of luck with the Perfect 46. So come check out more of Brett's screenings, and then your future. We have one June 19th, early August, correct? And then
Yeah, they July, early August. Not sure of a date yet.
yeah. And do we know where the college screenings are going to be, or they'll be announced later in the summer?
They'll be announced later, but they'll be kind of all over. Yeah. I can't really say them yet.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's wonderful. Well, thank you so much. And if anyone wants to check out more about the Perfect 46, just click buy. And we'll be posting a few links on the event page so you can see that dinner table conversation and a couple of other clips. All right. Well, thank you so much, Brett.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Bye.